Hi kids, it's chapter 14 of the Boxcar Children Yellow House Mystery. The Hermit. Do you know what a hermit is? A hermit is a very descriptive word. It describes somebody who lives all alone, away from other people. Another word would be a reclusive person. A hermit lives all alone. Chapter 14, The Hermit. Right away, the children wanted to go see Rita again, leaving the money in the tin box in the kitchen cupboard. The whole family almost ran up the road. "We want to go into the woods again, Rita," Jessie called. "We want to talk with Dave Hunter. Do you think we could find our way alone?" "Of course you can," said Rita, "but Dave won't talk." "Well, maybe he'll talk to Benny," said Jessie. "Well, maybe," said Rita. "He did before." The family started down the path through the woods. When they came to the cabin, they saw the hermit walking toward his house with a pail of water. He stopped when he saw the visitors. Then he went right on again. "Dave," called Henry kindly. But the hermit started to go up the steps to his cabin. Then Benny called out in his loudest voice, "Bill!" The pail went rolling down the steps as the old man stopped, and he sat down and put his head in his hands. Benny seemed to know just what to do, and nobody stopped him. He ran over and sat down beside the old man, put his hand on his arm. "Oh, Bill, don't worry. We've come to take you home." "Home?" said Bill. He lifted his head and looked at Benny. "I can never go home, little boy." He looked at the others as they waited on the path. "Oh, yes, you can. Grandfather wants you to come home, and so does Mrs. McGregor." "Mrs. McGregor," said Bill in a whisper. "Mrs. McGregor?" Then nobody could believe what happened next. Violet went quickly over to the steps and took the old man's hand. "He means Margaret." He looked at the pretty little girl. "Margaret is dead, little girl." "No, Margaret is alive," said Violet. "They told me she was dead. They said there was a fire and the barn burned and Margaret died trying to save the horses." "Well, that's not true at all, Bill," said Benny. "We lived in that barn all last summer. Mrs. McGregor's the housekeeper at my grandfather's house." "I can't go home," said Bill quietly. "I can't find the money. I took all Mr. Alden's money." "We found the money," said Violet gently. "Where?" asked the old man. "In a tin box under the steps of the house," announced Violet. "In a tin box? That's right," Bill said. "Oh dear, oh dear." Then Joe came to the steps and he said, "Mr. McGregor, everything will be all right again, believe me. Your wife is alive and wants to see you. We just found the money today." Then he turned to the children. "I'm afraid Bill's getting very tired," he said to the children. "He's having too much excitement after 40 years. Do you think you can walk to the old village, Mr. McGregor?" The old man looked at Joe's kind face. "Yes, I can, if all this story is true." "I promise you it is," said Joe. And then he said to the children, "Don't ask him anything more until we get him home. But he is Bill, all right." Benny would not let go of Bill's hand. He led him carefully along the path, stopping to show him every stone. "I've seen every stone on this path for many years, little boy," said Bill. But they all knew that he liked to have Benny help him down the path anyway. They took him to the little house that he had built himself. Alice made him lie down on one of the cots, and Jessie put something soft under his head. Joe rushed over to Jim's place and soon came back with a cup of hot tea. "Drink this," he said. "It will make you feel better." Bill drank the tea, and before anyone knew it, he had fallen asleep. "He's tired out," said Violet. "And he's thin. He almost looks like he didn't have enough to eat, like he's starving." "We'll soon fix that," whispered Jessie with a smile. "He'll have enough to eat if he lives with us." The family went into the kitchen. They shut the door softly. "Won't Grandfather be surprised?" said Henry. "And Mrs. McGregor," said Violet. "I'm surprised myself," said Joe. "I thought Bill was dead for sure." Jessie said, "Wasn't it queer how Benny got him to talk all of a sudden, just because he called him Bill? Bill must have felt funny to be talking Yeah, can you imagine not talking for 40 years? I hope you won't, Benny, laughed Alice. We love to hear you talk. When Bill wakes up, we must give him something to eat, said Jessie. I'll run over to Jim's right now and see what he has. Let me go with you, said Alice. We can go out the back door. Two girls went across the road, found Jim in his kitchen, stirring something on the back of the stove. It was a soup, and it smelled delicious. Jim turned around quickly and said, wasn't that the hermit I saw you with? Yes, it was, said Jessie. His real name is Bill McGregor, and he used to work for our great-grandfather. I thought something was queer about him, cried Jim. People used to say that that little house was Bill McGregor's place. Then one day Dave Hunter came to the old village and said it was his. He said he was a cousin of Bill's, but he wouldn't live in the house. He told me to use it for campers, and he built himself a cabin. Well, said Alice, he says he's Bill McGregor now. He does he? Asked Jim. I can hardly believe it. Must seem strange. He's a nice, gentle old man. I always felt sorry for him. I always tried to feed him up when he came out of the woods. That's what we came for, said Jessie. Something to feed him. That hot soup would be just the thing. Jessie, Benny called from across the road. Bill's awake and he's hungry. Take some bread and butter too, said Jim with a laugh. That'll do him good. Alice and Jessie hurried back. Bill was sitting up in a chair. He looked rested. Jessie put a little table in front of him and set down the hot soup, a plate of bread and butter. Bill ate as if he were half-starved. You don't look as thin as you did, Bill. Benny said, yeah, you look a little fatter now. Everyone laughed, even Bill. I don't think he grew fat on one bowl of soup, said Jessie. But you do look better, Bill, sure enough. I feel better, said the old man. Here's a picture. There he is, sitting at the table, having his soup. Jessie's bringing him the bread and butter. Look at his long, long beard and mustache and his hair. Sort of like people during the pandemic, nobody to cut their hair. I feel better, said the old man, looking into the girl's kind face. Then he looked around at the other friendly faces. They were all smiling at him. I suppose Mrs. McGregor won't know you. I'll know her, said Bill, even if she is old. She might like you better with your long beard. Oh, no, sorry, I made a mistake. She might like you better without your long beard, said Benny. Shh, Benny, said Jessie. Bill's feelings were not hurt. He even laughed a little. My beard can be cut off, he said. Then I will look like Bill McGregor instead of an old hermit. Jessie, said Benny all of a sudden, where'd you get that soup? I'm awfully hungry. What do you know, cried Henry. It's long past noon. We're so excited we forgot about our own dinner. Don't worry, said Jessie, getting up at once. We'll soon fix the hunger problem. That's the end of chapter 14. Looking forward to chapter 15 next.